As entertaining as a Hannah Gadsby comedy special, IGN recently shared some new Halo Infinite gameplay from the map Streets, and I guess it is gameplay technically, although I have to wonder why they snuck in Little John and let him do their hands-on coverage. And for those unfamiliar with Little John, he's a rapper that showed off his unique FPS skills during a Call of Duty Vanguard event recently, and IGN must have been so impressed that they duplicated his performance. Either way, impressive stuff. PlayStation recently held a State of Play event, and the highlights were really nothing. A few interesting looking indie games, some really cringe. Probably should have been a blog post. Celebrating N7 Day the other day, BioWare shared a new look at Mass Effect 4. And say what you will about the issues at the studio in the last number of years, but I'm genuinely feeling some optimism about this game. Revisiting the original trilogy with the great remaster earlier this year also plays a factor in my enthusiasm, which might just be blurring my vision a little bit considering I've done my best to just forget the duds that were Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem. BioWare has a lot to prove. As I've said before, remastering games from their glory days is one thing, crafting a new game that delivers is another. If you're hopeful at all to see Cyberpunk 2077 starting to make a big grand comeback, that wish is gonna have to wait a little bit longer, as CD Projekt Red told investors in an updated roadmap that the game would not be receiving any more significant updates or free DLC or the next-gen versions until Q1 of 2022. At this point, it really is best if CDPR just goes completely silent until they have something to show. The No Man's Sky approach. 2021 has been a disaster for the company in so many ways, and we've now gone through multiple roadmaps with things we expected in the beginning of 2021 now being delayed to early 2022. CDPR's post-launch plans for this game have gone up in flames, well, at least their timelines. 2021 was a year spent fixing a game that was released likely a year too early. The argument that many have made is, well, look at all the hype and how people were pissed at each of the game's delays all through last year until it eventually came out unfinished in December 2020. And the issue with that stance is that CDPR's management should have just never given a release date in the first place. They had the power to manage expectations. They did not. Still though, they wanted the game out and now they deal with the consequences. For gamers, all they can do is mod the game to perfection or wait or move on. If Cyberpunk 2077 is going to turn it around, it'll probably really start with the first paid DLC, something that I'm not expecting until the second half of 2022 based on the current timeline and pace that we're seeing from CDPR. Now, before we move on to our next topic, today's video is brought to you by Displayed. Easily, this is one of my favorite partners to work with, as this is a product that I use and love. Displays are well-manufactured metal posters for all kinds of artwork, coming in different sizes, finishes, and frames, featuring over 1 million designs from areas like video games, manga, movies, comics, nature, history, and much more. When purchasing disc plates, you can expect prints on demand, with each signed by the master production, an easy to set up magnet mounting system which removes concerns over damaging your walls, and fast delivery, with shipping coming from the EU and having an expected delivery time of just 4 to 5 business days. From Fallout to The Witcher to Star Wars, Displayed has a number of partners which have provided beautiful prints from iconic franchises, some of which are on my walls. A few personal favorites of mine are my Witcher 3 prints and this God of War themed print. If you're looking for more recommendations, I have my own collection list composed on my Displayed profile for you to check out. With the holidays approaching, this seems like the ideal gift for someone else or maybe just yourself. If you are interested in getting a disc plate, follow the link in the description down below. You'll be helping to support the channel with each purchase made, and for the next 2 weeks you'll receive a 26% discount if you get 1 or 2 disc plates, and if you get 3 or more you'll receive a 36% discount. Anyway, big thank you to Displayed for sponsoring the video. Marvel's Avengers decided to make one of the most not surprising greedy decisions a number of weeks ago, something of which is becoming all too common with live service games. Make a promise prior to launch and then go back on it later. Easy money. We've seen this happen with too many games to count. One example would be Fallout 76. But in this regard with Avengers, paid XP boosters were added. Outrage would soon follow, and developer Crystal Dynamics had nothing to say about this new addition for weeks until out of the blue they apologized and removed the paid XP boosters from the game. Now, I've seen many congratulating Crystal Dynamics with this decision, saying they are happy that they listen to the community, but I don't really see much reason to be happy about this. Sure, it's great the XP boosters are gone, but all this tells me is that they weren't making enough money for Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix to warrant the negative PR over their broken promise. Regardless, Marvel's Avengers as a live service with new content and updates likely is coming to an end sometime in the near future, as it becomes crystal clear that Square Enix is disappointed with this game's performance. We all know Avengers did not sell well at launch and ended up being a huge flop for Square Enix. But more recently, the company's president admitted that Crystal Dynamics was a bad fit for this style of a game. Specifically, he said with Marvel's Avengers, taking on the games as a service model highlighted issues that we are likely to face in the future game development efforts, such as the need to select game designs that mesh with the unique attributes and tastes of our studios and development teams. While the new challenge that we tackled with this title produced a disappointing outcome, we are certain that the games as a service approach will grow in importance as gaming becomes more service oriented. So basically, Square Enix is saying more live service games in the future, but maybe just maybe we should not have a single player story focused developer making a huge live service multiplayer game. And for that, I agree. The Avengers game had a ton of excitement behind it until it was revealed to be everything that nobody wanted. Lesson learned? Probably not, but I'll remain optimistic until Crystal Dynamics inevitably announces an Avengers Battle Royale game. If you're at all feeling nervous about Battlefield 2042, which is set to launch in the coming days, EA CEO Andrew Wilson had an interesting take on the disastrous beta that took place last month, and that was by saying that they received overwhelmingly positive feedback, that there was some conversation around some elements of the beta, but that's not unnatural in a beta. Quite the spin on how players thought of their time with the beta, to be honest. There have been some leaks and other changes made that does inspire hope that the game we play soon won't be like the beta, although there does continue to be major issues, some of which makes me increasingly nervous for how launch will be. Nvidia recently shared some new Battlefield 2042 gameplay, which was supposed to highlight their impressive tech, but all it did was highlight how the game is having massive frame drops in a promotional video from a very high-end PC. The video has far more dislikes and likes, and all I can say is I have a very bad feeling, one that I hope is wrong, but as they say, where there's smoke, there's fire. Many have long believed that after Battlefield 2042, a new Star Wars Battlefront game would be coming from DICE. Infamously, as everybody knows, Star Wars Battlefront 2 had a disastrous launch, caused by the publisher EA's never-ending lust of greed, but eventually the game did rebound. Still, it clearly never reached the expectations that EA had for it, and there have been questions if a Star Wars Battlefront 3 will happen, especially following the end of EA's Star Wars exclusivity deal. Recently, Game Insider Tom Henderson may have given us that answer as he revealed that DICE's next game will not be a new Battlefront, but instead a new Battlefield, which likely indicates, at least for the foreseeable future, Battlefront is getting some rest. In a world of pain and suffering, Ubisoft has unofficially done something brilliant, and that is reviving Splinter Cell. Multiple sources, including Tom Henderson, have reported a new game is in development. What this game will look like, who knows? It very well may be a carbon copy of Far Cry with a bigger emphasis on stealth. Speaking of Far Cry, it appears that Ubisoft is planning to take it in a new, bold direction. And if you guessed multiplayer live service, you guessed right. One of my personal gripes with Far Cry 6 is that it feels like the same game I've played since Far Cry 3, which for some is enough. For myself, I'd like to see the franchise do something more. To be honest, most of Ubisoft's open world games are all like that. Giant worlds, forgettable locations, tons of map markers, repetitive tasks, and usually some at the very least solid gameplay. This brings us to the newest report from Axios, which claims that Ubisoft is looking to take Far Cry 7 in a radical new direction, with a greater focus on online play. What that means is too early to say, but I would not be shocked to see Ubisoft double down on the live service side of the game, maybe making the next installment multiplayer only and putting a greater emphasis on those precious microtransactions that'll actually lead into one of the big stories of today, the NFT craze in gaming that's nearly here. We're also going to touch on Blizzard losing $25 billion in market value following even more problems, the outrage surrounding the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, Todd Howard responding to the Elder Scrolls 6 concerns, and the possibility of Obsidian making Fallout 5. But before we dive into all of that, consider subscribing, follow me on Twitter, leave a like or dislike, and if you really like the content, check out my Patreon and support the channel. Nonetheless, while Ubisoft looks to have both Assassin's Creed and Far Cry embrace embracing online-oriented futures, they also are looking to get in on the NFT blockchain craze, something they envision as the future of video games. Oh great, oh great. Ubisoft CEO recently saying in a statement that the gaming industry is changing regularly with lots of new revolutions happening. We consider blockchain one of those revolutions. It will imply more play to earn that will enable more players to actually earn content, own content, and we think it's going to grow the industry quite a lot. I just have to say, it's honestly so bizarre seeing an industry that's been so in love with players not owning games and only owning licenses now arguing they love the fact that players will soon be able to own digital content through blockchain tech. Ubisoft is also far from alone with this position. While they are actively developing blockchain games, other companies are preparing as well. EA CEO Andrew Wilson recently told investors, while it is early, they view NFTs as an important part of the future of our industry. And Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick said that they are big believers in NFTs, who would further add, if you believe in collectible physical goods, I don't know why you would not believe in collectible digital goods. And blockchain authorization, which is what an NFT really is one way, not the only way, to authenticate the fact something is singular is rare. If you aren't aware of what NFT or non-fungible tokens are, the easy dumb definition is that they are digital assets like videos or images that use unique identifying code for ownership that are bought and sold online. They're usually encoded with the same underlying software as many cryptos. You can imagine how video game companies could exploit this, just like so many celebrities and companies are trying to do right now. I fully expect FIFA Ultimate Team and NBA 2K to fully embrace this tech sooner rather than later, giving players the option to have their own unique teams and players that they own. The best comparison I can make is that we will likely see more games like Axie Infinity in the future. That may actually be the future of EA sports games. Axie Infinity is defined by The Verge as like Pokemon on the blockchain. Where it differs from Pokemon is that Axies are unique digital objects stored on Axie's own blockchain. To create new ones, existing owners must breed them by spending currency earned within the game or purchased from an exchange. By winning battles in the game or selling Axies to other players, owners can earn the game's currencies. Those earnings can then be sold on the open market for real money, generating income for the players. Hopefully now you can imagine how this will be utilized by game publishers such as Ubisoft, EA, Take-Two, Square Enix, and Activision Blizzard for their big name franchises. Throw creativity out the window and embrace the pay-to-win future. A Guerrilla Games designer had a take which seems to be what most agree with. Every NFT game design concept I've seen is something that could already be accomplished without the blockchain, and is universally rejected by designers, players, or both as terrible, toxic pay-to-win design. Besides the environmental harm, the legal challenges, and the fact that all of the current NFT stupidity can be right-clicked, the future, especially in gaming, looks just a tad bit more greedy and less focused on innovation that actually entertains players. Maybe it's just me, but I'd prefer video games don't turn into Wall Street. Sure, will be interesting seeing how companies like EA avoid the promoting gambling to kids angle with something like this, but to be fair, they have literal slot machines in their games now, and their lobbyism efforts have worked. FIFA players have already envisioned how this will likely work in the future, with there being exclusive autographed digital cards or limited release promos with only a certain number being available. Think EA promoting their Ultimate Team loot boxes with saying only 10,000 of this rare NFT card is available, and you only have a 5% chance or less of getting this item in the loot box. And then people will spend thousands upon thousands of dollars opening up these loot boxes just attempting to find that rare NFT card. Fun times are ahead, but all I know is that the last thing I need in my life is Battlefield 2098 having all of the potential weapons as collectible NFTs that can be bought and sold. Blizzard's collapse here in November 2021 has continued. The company's trajectory pretty much has been the equivalent to Harvey Weinstein's Hollywood career. Unfortunately, it seems like Blizzard and Weinstein share a lot more similarities than I would have ever liked to acknowledge. Activision Blizzard has finally committed to actions to better the workplace, meeting the demands that many employees had. Meanwhile, Ubisoft executives continue to ignore any and everything that their employees have asked for. Recently, though, we got a new twist in the Blizzard 2021 saga, and that is one of the executives that was brought in to replace J. Allen Brack as the head of Blizzard is leaving. Yes, Activision Blizzard co-leader Jen O'Neill, who just assumed the role a few months ago, is stepping down with Mike Ybarra, I suppose becoming the new sole head of Blizzard. In a statement, O'Neill said that, "I am doing this not because I am without hope for Blizzard, quite the opposite. I'm inspired by the passion of everyone here working towards meaningful, lasting change with their whole hearts," and you get how this is going. And while she is being nice with this PR-heavy statement, as an outsider, this doesn't look good. Additionally, on the day of her departure being announced, Activision Blizzard also revealed that both Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 were being delayed. They will no longer release in 2022 and are now expected in 2023 or beyond. Both games have suffered massive creative departures over the course of the last year. Many industry commentators, including myself, feel it's been a giant misfire by Blizzard to have gone with an Overwatch sequel instead of just improving the popular game that they already had. Regardless, they made that decision, and now we'll have to wait a few more years to see just how much of a huge mistake it was, or I guess not. But yeah, this continuing tale of bad news for Activision Blizzard has been their 2021. Just to understand how bad it has been, in the last 5 to 6 months, the company has lost a third of their stock value and over $25 billion in market cap value. When it was announced that Jen O'Neill was leaving and both Diablo and Overwatch were being delayed, the stock took an immediate 14% crash. To make matters worse, Blizzard's player base continues to shrink, with the company revealing that the studio's monthly active users plummeted by 13% year over year to 26 million. Blizzard is somewhat in the same spot that BioWare is in. Most or all of the original talent is gone, and now we really don't know what to expect from them. BioWare did release a good remaster this year, while Blizzard has had some pretty big issues with their own. From what we've seen these last few months, I sense we'll be talking a lot more about Blizzard in the future, and not for positive game impressions. To celebrate the 10th anniversary of Skyrim, which if you have not heard is getting another new version, Todd Howard, but one of the Bethesda directors, the head of Bethesda Game Studios, sat down with IGN for an interview. What was discussed was quite interesting. Howard discussed a variety of topics. He made quite clear his confidence with Starfield's release date, saying that November 11th, 2022 date is set in ink, and later added that the whole game can be played right now. He also discussed how the new consoles have allowed them to make a giant leap in their technology, with them now feeling it was the right time to give their engine a huge overhaul. He also gave his preference of graphic fidelity over 60 FPS gameplay, and said that Starfield shares some big similarities with Skyrim and Fallout in terms of how its factions, loot, and skill systems work. Howard also was asked about the giant gap between Skyrim and The Elder Scrolls 6, with IGN's Ryan McCaffrey pointing out it'll be around 15 years between the two games. McCaffrey wondered if this was a good thing, and Howard pointed out that Skyrim is still played by millions and ESO is very popular, but he furthermore said this.
So when I look at The Elder Scrolls as a franchise, is it healthy? Is it doing well? Yes, 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 yes. Would you plan to have the kind of gap we're having between Skyrim and the follow-up? I can't say that's a good thing, right? I wish I could wave a wand and the game that we want to make and we have in our head, we're starting things on, just came out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's other things we want to do, right?
So Todd Howard just the other day actually expanded upon his answer from this IGN interview. During a Reddit AMA, Howard said that we certainly understand that they do take a long time to get right. Ultimately, quality matters most to us, and we're careful with resources and priorities. Also, we're hiring, which is a good indication of Bethesda's future. They will continue to grow, and maybe in a decade they'll be releasing new games faster than they are right now. To stress how much he understands the huge gap, he responded to someone else saying that, "We know it's a long wait, we're with you. For Father's Day this year, my son gave me a card that said, 'You're an amazing dad, but where's The Elder Scrolls 6?'" Now, getting back to this IGN interview, Howard would next discuss how the studio wanted to do Fallout 4, they wanted to do an online multiplayer game with Fallout 76, and now they want to do Starfield, a new game, a new franchise, a new universe to explore. Ultimately, though, the Elder Scrolls franchise being vibrant and healthy is why they felt okay doing all these other things. Howard would finish off this original question from this IGN interview by saying the following.
Everything takes longer than we would like as well, but we want to make sure we get it right. And, hopefully Elder Scrolls 6, you don't want to say like, hey, that's worth that kind of wait, but that it does stand up to the series as it has been in a really big, impactful way for when it comes out.
This is the reality of this live service age. This is why Rockstar doesn't release as many games anymore, and it's because they don't need to. GTA Online brings in a massive amount of money every quarter. They can take their time. That's why projects like Red Dead Redemption 2 exist. Todd Howard put a great emphasis in this interview on ESO's success, and based on his remarks, it certainly sounds like Fallout 76 and Starfield might not exist if ESO wasn't doing as good as it's doing, and of course, if millions didn't still play Skyrim every month. Next though, Howard did touch on the game after the Elder Scrolls 6, with McCaffrey asking the question on everyone's mind, can inXile Entertainment or Obsidian, companies with histories tied to the Fallout franchise, work on the next installment? And Todd Howard responded with this.
I don't see, look, Fallout's really part of our DNA here.
Yeah.
We've worked with other people from time to time. I can't say what's going to happen. You know, we have a one-pager on Fallout 5, what we want to do. Again, if I could wave my hand and say, have
Right.
that out. You know, I'd like to find a way to accelerate what we do. But I can't really say today or commit to anything what's going to happen when, other than, hey, our cadence is Starfield and then Elder Scrolls 6.
So Howard definitely didn't close the door, but made quite clear they have plans themselves for a Fallout 5, which likely won't be here until around 2030 based on Bethesda's current pace of making games. I think some people have misinterpreted his remarks here. He certainly is indicating that mainline Fallout games will remain with them, but seeing another Fallout New Vegas like spin-off with Obsidian, inXile, or maybe someone else in the Xbox family is possible. Last but not least, Howard did discuss online elements and whether or not we would be seeing more of that in the future. While he again committed to single player, Howard did point out that Fallout 76 has turned it around with adding single player story elements, and collected his thoughts on the matter with this.
There are various ways that you can talk about adding social elements to a game that I don't think take away from that.
Yeah.
And we've dabbled with some of that and not put it out, or things on paper, or things that we'd like to try in our games. So I don't want to rule that out. 76 has really ended up being a great experience for us and a great learning one. But our passion is behind, who are you going to be? This world is for you. Go make it your own.
Unfortunately, Howard kinda skirts around this question. It definitely doesn't seem like another Fallout 76 is in the pipeline, but other social elements could be coming in future games like the Elder Scrolls 6. Whether that's something like co-op or Death Stranding online-like elements or some sort of multiplayer mode, we don't know, and this will remain as a concern that some have moving forward. Now, I quickly want to turn back to the Reddit AMA that I brought up a little bit ago for one last question that Todd Howard answered, and that was, how did Cyberpunk 2077's release impact Bethesda's philosophy with releasing games? And surprisingly, we somewhat got a response out of Howard, who said, I can only speak to the issues that we've had, such as Fallout 76. We let people down, and we were able to learn and be better from it. We're fortunate 3 years later to have 76 be one of our most played games, and it's thanks to the 11 million players who have made it an incredible community. It's made us much better developers in the end. And certainly, I would imagine that Fallout 76 had a lot of lessons learned, and with Cyberpunk 2077, any of these huge disasters that strike this video game industry, they have an impact everywhere. We saw that with Star Wars Battlefront 2, the loot box debacle. Many companies were very hesitant about monetization, and they still are because of the backlash that EA faced when they went about that. With Cyberpunk 2077, I think that there's a lot of lessons that probably Bethesda, other studios have learned, and that's really to watch how you market some of these games and polish the game up before you release it. This is something that Bethesda really should, and I'm certain that they are paying attention, because the bug issues that Cyberpunk 2077 has faced, the backlash that CDPR experienced, it will be much grander if the Elder Scrolls 6 releases an estate equivalent to how Skyrim launched all the way back in the day, or really any of the big Bethesda releases, because most of them have had some major bugs and glitch issues, and Bethesda's gotten off pretty easy in the past, but I don't think that'll be the case moving forward, especially following Fallout 76, which also was very buggy. So yeah, I definitely feel like Bethesda, even though they're not going to say it, they've learned some valuable lessons from everything that CDPR has gone through in the last year or so. Now, to our final topic of the day, we have the GTA Trilogy, a remaster that has come under a ton of fire for multiple reasons. By the time you watch this video, it might already be out. Some gameplay has started to leak, and I think it looks tremendous. One of the biggest issues that some have with this remaster is just that it is a remaster and not a remake. Many have made comparisons of the upgraded graphics of the GTA Trilogy to Mafia Definitive Edition, wondering why players aren't getting that, and the answer is quite simple. Mafia received a full-blown remake, the GTA Trilogy did not. Even so, I think it looks great. The weather effects, gameplay improvements, upgraded textures and lighting are what stand out. Obviously, the most controversial choice was the character models, and giving them a more plasticky look, that is something that does stand out. And again, I've seen countless people comparing GTA mods that already upgraded these older games and done, in their opinion, a better job. For myself, the biggest problem I have with this GTA Trilogy is just how Rockstar and Take-Two have gone about this. The older games have been delisted everywhere, and almost all the big mods for these older titles were shut down with legal threats. That simply put sucks and is anti-consumer. Especially delisting these older games before even showing any gameplay was something that I really did not like. It sets a crappy precedent. Then on top of that, it's going to be interesting to see what changes they make to the game. Earlier this year, a Japanese gaming outlet, Gamatsu, reported that they heard from its sources that Rockstar would be implementing some content changes to make the games more suitable for modern audiences. What that means, what that is, isn't entirely clear yet. One character who had a Confederate flag in GTA Vice City has had it removed based on the GTA Trilogy trailer. Is dialogue or anything else changed? Again, it just isn't clear yet. But even this change garnered a lot of negative reactions. Last Stand Media's Colin Moriarty saying this is stupid because it suggests that not even a fictional character, who isn't a good person by the way, can't in any way interact with, support, or display the Confederate flag. Some serious pretending that there were no that symbol in World War II vibes here. Chris Raygun, another individual part of the Last Stand Media family, had a more aggressive response to this revelation. Additionally, one popular Twitter post said, "If true, how ironic that a company which prided itself on resisting controversy and censorship would cave into controversy and censorship. We're talking about Grand Theft Auto. It's truly a sad state of affairs if even Rockstar has no spine." There's been a lot of that going around as of late with this GTA Trilogy and the questions that many have right now with it. Regardless of this specific outrage, this remaster will sell like hotcakes no matter what, but it does tell us something about Rockstar and might be an indication of them avoiding certain controversial topics that could be satirized in GTA 6, a game that will be here one day, I guess. Recent rumors of a messy development have been spreading around, although they have since been debunked, as the journalist who made the remarks claims his comments were taken out of context and he was simply giving an opinion. He did, however, confirm that Rockstar is working on a Red Dead Redemption remaster, something that's been corroborated by other sources in recent months. So one of these days in the future, it seems PC players will finally get to enjoy one of the all-time great games. Anyway, I do want to give again a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Displate. Make sure you follow the link down in the description below for a discount. Cannot emphasize enough how much I love these metal posters. They're all over my office space, easy to remove, and I'm just going to keep promoting this company because I really do love their product. But back to the video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or if you found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news that I do not always get into video form, so do make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games. And again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.